Hi, and welcome to Max Tech Studio. Do you have multiple networks in your home or at your work that you need to identify? Today, I'm going to be showing you how to build a very simple network identification tool. It will show you the address that you're plugged into and also various information about the subnets and the routers or gateways. So let's get started. Okay, the first thing we're going to need a LilyGo T-Display S3, a W5500 Ethernet module, some various jumper wires, and a solderless breadboard. Now this is the way I've went with it. You could also get a printed circuit board made and solder this stuff onto a printed circuit board. I'll have Amazon links to all the parts that I've used to make this one. And I'll have those in the description. Okay, let's take a look at the construction. What I have here is just a various sets of jumper wires that are jumpering the W5500 over to the T display, and that will allow the W5500 to communicate with it. The W5500 does run on SPI, which the LilyGo T-Display S3 does have two SPI ports. Unfortunately, one of them is already tied up with a display module. So let's take a look at the IDE and I'll show you how the program works. Okay, the first thing we need to do before we can program this is we need to set up our Arduino IDE to be able to use the LilyGo T-Display. And I'll have a link to this GitHub for the LilyGo T-Display, and it tells you exactly what you need to do as far as getting everything ready, you know, how to download it, where to move the libraries, and how to move the library files around so you can get them set up. If you follow these directions, you will have no problem getting your IDE set up so you can program this. All right, so let's take a look at the code. What I have here is the code that I've put together. The first thing you'll notice is that it requires Arduino.h, which almost every Arduino program that I've ever written has always required that library. The next one we'll have is the SPI.h, which allows us to control the SPI devices. Then you'll have the Ethernet, which will allow you to be able to read some of those things off that internet device and be able to print them. And then you'll have Wire.h, which allows the serial output, so you will get the text out of this thing down here. If you don't have one that has a display on it, you can still plug it into a computer and get the information. And then you'll have this TFT ESPI.h, and that one is a hardware library for the LilyGo T-Display. The next thing I'll have is I defined the pin that tells me this is the chip select for the W5500 Ethernet module. And then we'll start the TFT display, and then we'll put in an IP address, which can be just about anything, and a MAC address, which can also be just about anything. Then I'll tell it I want to start the serial display, which will allow it to show the text right here when I plug that in. And then you'll have your initialization of the TFT. And I've got most of this documented so you can tell exactly what it's for. And then you'll see some of these things pop up on here. You know, it'll initialize the NIC. And then when you get down into the meat of it, it'll check to make sure that the interface it finds an interface, and then it'll catch the IP address and the subnet mask, the gateway, the DNS servers, and it'll print all that stuff out. And then here's just a little timeout routine. If it goes for 1 minute without having an Ethernet cable connected, it'll pop you up and give you an error. Okay, now let's go ahead and take a look and see exactly what the display does when you plug it in. Okay, now that I have the T-Display plugged into the computer with an Ethernet cable, we'll go ahead and program it. And the way you do that is you click this upload button. It will compile the sketch and then write it to the T-Display. So we'll go ahead and do that. It's compiling. That just takes a few seconds. And there it's writing it. And then it'll reset and start executing. But there we go. It initialized the NIC, and then it printed out what the IP address is, its subnet mask, its gateway, and its DNS server. And now I'll show you exactly what it did on the display itself. If you have a display connected, which will be right here, as you can see, it went ahead and printed all that out right there on the T-Display. It put exactly what was still on the computer. It actually printed it out on the display, which means you can use this without having it connected to a computer. If you'd like, you could just plug in a USB-C power supply into the T-Display, and it'll go ahead and display that for you. The reason I built this, I'll give you some background here. The reason I built this was because where I worked at one time, we had multiple networks, and I was using a Raspberry Pi with a display, but unfortunately, you know, the Raspberry Pi did consume a lot more power than this does, and it also was more fragile because if you unplug it without shutting it down properly, it could corrupt the SD card. So this is a much better solution. There is no SD card to corrupt, and you plug it in. It's very quick to start, which the Raspberry Pi took a while, and it consumes a lot less power. Okay, I believe that should have it for you today. If you want to see more videos like this, you can subscribe. Download the subscribe button below this video. If you'd like to support me and my channel, there's a Patreon link in the channel description. Have a good day, and thank you for watching.